common link between these? Salman Khan, his father Salim Khan, and if you could have those images, singer A.P. Dhillon, comedian Munawar Farooqi, singer and Congress leader Sidhu Moosewala, right-wing leader Sukhdev Singh Gogamadi. Well, the ugly, dark belly of the underworld, contract killings or its threats. And still common link to all the names I took. Lawrence Bishnoi, the man who also is linked to the killing of NCP leader Baba Siddique, who once ended the Shah Rukh Khan-Salman Khan feud. We are talking about Lawrence Bishnoi, a product of a gangster terror network nexus, who has been named by the National Investigation Agency in several high-profile cases, including his links with banned terror group Babbar Khalsa International and smuggling of arms and ammunition from Pakistan. Importantly, is charged with the draconian Unlawful Activities Prevention Act, that's the UAPA, but interestingly is lodged in the Sabarmati jail in Gujarat. So how is he operating out of jail, and what is his connect beyond India? The Goldy Brar connect to Canada. Well, first, let's start with how does he operate? How does this function? According to NIA chart sheet, the growth of Lawrence Bishnoi is very similar to the rise of Dawood. Dawood created his own gang known as D Company, and it's on similar lines that Lawrence Bishnoi runs the organized terror syndicate. Started as a petty criminal, created Lawrence Bishnoi gang, expanded the gang with Goldy Brar and Anmol Bishnoi. We'll come to that in detail in a bit. Has over 700 contract killers who generated crores for his and his underworld empire. Masterminds of the gruesome murder of Sidhu Moosewala, just the latest. Lawrence Bishnoi, like Dawood Ibrahim, is a notorious gangster, wanted not just in India, in fact, but also in Canada. A terror syndicate aims to destabilize law and order in North India. Targeted killings, extortion, attempt to murders, etc. The gangster terror nexus or network is well-oiled, fueled, whether it be at a local level or with Khalistani terrorists or even in international soil like Canada. From shootings outside singer A.P. Dhillon's home to cross-border gang violence, excuse me, Canada has been accused of becoming a haven for gangsters, both for crimes in India as well as crimes against India. That's right, in India as well as against India. And even as India-Canada relations spiral, with India's strong response to what it has claimed as preposterous claims of Canada against India, there's also a strong history of gangs in Canada. Numerous requests have been made from India to deport gangsters. Canada government has been slow stating human rights from their version, something that India has very strongly opposed. And despite Indian diplomats in Canada face harassment. Bishnoi connects to Canada for one being Goldy Brar, declared designated terrorist by India, associated with terrorist group Babbar Khalsa, involved in multiple murders. That's right, it's an important link, and we'll explain to you why is this link so important. Involved in multiple murders, arms smuggling, and has taken responsibility for Sidhu Moosewala's murder. In fact, Goldy Brar shifted to Canada in 2017 on a student visa, operated from Canada for several years, and even took over Lawrence Bishnoi's operations in Canada before, according to reports, shifting to US. But how does this entire nexus really function? I'm being joined at this point by Yashovardhan Azad, who is a former IPS officer Prabhu Dayal, who's a former ambassador, as well as Vipin Pubby, who's a senior journalist. Thank you very much, all of you, for joining us. Well, first question to you, Mr. Yashovardhan Azad. There's so much which has been spoken about these gangs of terror, these gangsters, whatsoever. You know, the first question which everybody is asking, if Lawrence Bishnoi is in jail, and there have been recent instances, one after the other, where his connect seems to be surfacing, whether it be a gym owner in South Delhi, whether it be Salman Khan case, whether it be the latest Baba Siddique case, but these are only high-profile cases. There have been even several others over the last few months. How well oiled is this machinery that a crackdown is far from possible?
Right. I mean, he was earlier in Rajasthan jail, from where he used to operate with impunity. And then he was shifted to Tihar, and finally now he's in Sabarmati jail. In fact, the Mumbai police was saying that they didn't get him to be interrogated in that earlier case when he had tried to and had made an attempt on Salman. Yes, he has, they say he has a veritable army. I mean, almost over 500 shooters. And his history has been phenomenal, because he was an LLB student in Punjab University. He has enough money. He's a rich guy, owns a farm in Punjab. But gradually through the ranks, he's come up. And today he's knocking at the doors of Mumbai, the underbelly of sleaze and real estate, extortion, and organized crimes. Now, the question everyone asks is, how does he operate with impunity? When a gang becomes big, and
That's true.
it's more the fear which really moves everything. There are gangs in UP which operate within the state, but this man, who has grown larger than life, is operating through fear amongst the prison authorities. He does whatever he wants, and whenever he's being transferred from courts to back to the jail, he meets his gurgas, as they call them, and his network remains intact. Whereas in this particular case, it's still to be verified in the Baba Siddique's case that this gang has been involved. But the most important thing about this gang, I would say, is that he's earning enough money through extortion, not only in India, but in Canada. And in fact, the West Vancouver police chief was staying and stated to the press also that a lot of money has been gained through extortion from the Indians who are in Canada because of the vulnerability of their relatives living here. So this partnership is extremely effective. And one more important thing is that he's virtually filling the vacuum in Mumbai of the underworld mafia, which had virtually evaporated after the 90s. So in that respect, yes, he's growing up to be a real terror. And I think it's easy to smash this gang. Why it's not happening, I'm really not in a position to say it. But every gang of this kind has a shelf life, and it's quite possible that after one few more very big hits, this will be on the decline.
That's interesting you say this, and if I can get in Vipin Pubby at this point. Vipin Pubby, let's just take it from where Mr. Yashovardhan Azad left it. Every gang has a shelf life, but if that is what it is, for a period in between, actually there was a lull. We did not hear much about Lawrence Bishnoi. He did not garner headlines. We did not hear of big cases, as it were. And then suddenly, if you look at the last few years, particularly last few months, you already again see a peak in the activity, in the hit list, in the targets, in the killings that have happened. What do you make out of this, given your experience?
Well, Sneha, you mentioned at the beginning of the program, you took certain names, and they're all very high-profile names. And you took the name of Lawrence Bishnoi, associated with those incidents. Now, that is the crux of the problem. What Lawrence Bishnoi is doing, and Mr. Azad has correctly pointed out, they're not short of money. And he himself is a landlord with about 108 acres land and all that. What they are looking forward is to create scare that, and create a name for themselves that they're the biggest. And therefore, if they can scare or they can kill some of these high profile people, like they have been able to do this, no, it is their scare that spreads in the region. So there are hundreds of incidents of their extorting money from small businessmen, real estate wallahs, and others. So all they need is not money from these people like Siddique. They need is big name so that they can create scare that we can hit them, so we can hit anybody. So that is, I think, very vital. And secondly, you were asking about how these gangs have been operating in the recent past. Well, I must say that, there are contributory factors. There have been gangs all over all the time. And as Mr. Azad also said that he was actually first a DAV college student, as student union leader, and then Punjab University law student. But what they are doing is that they are, having a kind of a network. That network that they have developed in the jails. And the current situation suits them because mainly in Punjab and Haryana, the major problem is drugs. And these gangsters, besides extorting, they're also involved in the drug racket. And that is one reason that, this is spreading and more youth are joining them, because one side is the drugs and easy money and fear. And the second is unemployment. So I think they get very easily these recruits for 2-3 lakh rupees to kill anybody, and they are ready to, pay the price for it. So that is why it is increased over the last few years. There has been a
Very
sudden
interesting.
increase in that.
But Vipin Pubby, very quickly, like Mr. Yashovardhan Azad said, that there's always going to be a shelf life, few more cases, and it may see its end. Is that how you read what's happening in terms of, the lull that was there for a few years, and then the hit list that seems to be emerging one after the other? Is that the kind of a design that you see as well?
Yes, certainly. All gangs have a shelf life, and because there are others who rivals who come up, and then there is, of course, the security forces, and the government also sees up to an extent whatever what kind of an activities they are doing and where are they not. You will be shocked and surprised. This Bishnoi had been giving interviews from inside the jail. There has been now High Court of Punjab and Haryana High Court have taken cognizance of it. One of the interviews was taken at CIA headquarters in Kharar, where he was under custody, and second interview was given in Rajasthan. So there are people who are also mixed up with him. I mean, strict action should be taken. How could he be in custody and giving video interviews, not audio interviews, video interviews, which were aired by some of the channels? So this nexus, and I think it needs to be broken. And over a time, certainly, I agree with Mr. Azad that they have a shelf life. How many years? How much time can they do with that? So certainly that is there, but at the same time, effective action must be taken. How he give out interviews, video interviews, TV interviews from inside the jail?
Right. Prabhu Dayal, taking forward what both Vipin Pubby as well as Mr. Azad have said, interestingly, ironically, or shockingly, this isn't just a case that's restricted to India. And we have seen how India-Canada relations have completely nosedived. Just today, you've had the instance of how India has downgraded its relations with Canada. Very, very strong statements against the allegations which Canada has made. And yet you have a history that goes long before, and where India has repeatedly said that Canada is emerging as a safe haven for gangs, for anti-India activities, and even for terror groups that want to target India. Now, help me understand, is it far-fetched to say, for whatever may be just gang wars, targeted gang killings, and several other words that may use, the direct bearings will now be also seen on India-Canada relations? How do you see something like this?
Well, I have been watching the downslide of India-Canada relations for quite some time. And as you put it, today they have nosedived as never before. In fact, I think the diplomatic row has escalated to unprecedented levels. And of course, India will have the right to retaliate to whatever extent it considers necessary. India has already asked some Canadian diplomats to leave. But this may not be the end because of the fact that what Canada has been doing is persistently harmful to the bilateral interests. Let me mention that the Justin Trudeau government has consciously provided space to violent extremists, criminals, and terrorists. These have been harnessed to threaten and intimidate Indian diplomats as well as some community leaders in Canada. But what is also happening is that the activities of such violent criminals and terrorists has been spilling over into India too. So in other words, the Trudeau government bears a direct responsibility for criminal activities which extremist Sikhs and criminals based in Canada have been orchestrating against India. Now, all these activities are sort of justified by the Canadian side in terms of freedom of speech. You know, that whatever the Canadian extremist Sikhs do to incite violence in India is like freedom of speech. Now, this is ridiculous. In fact, some individuals who are criminals have been allowed to enter Canada illegally. And in fact, they have been fast-tracked for citizenship. What does it show? It shows that criminals are being encouraged by the Canadian authorities, by the Canadian government of Justin Trudeau, to take up residence in Canada and from there carry out their criminal activities directed against India. This has been brought to the attention of the Canadian government for quite some time, but unfortunately, there has been no action taken by them. Now, let me mention that there are organized crime leaders living in Canada who have strong connections with Punjab. Now, mind you, Punjab is not an extremist state. Sikhs are not extremists. There are some small sections of
That's
Sikhs
true. That's
who
right. It's important to mention
subscribe
that.
to this
Correct.
Khalistani ideology, and they are the ones who are being housed in Canada, encouraged in Canada, and helped to finance their activities and carry out terrorist acts within the Indian boundaries. So, in other words, what has been happening is extremely detrimental to the bilateral relationship because encouraging these Khalistani extremists and criminals to act against India and to be housed within Canada is something that we cannot ignore. And we have, that is why, asked Canada to take away their diplomats because these people were actually involved in such nefarious activities.
Right. Right. Yashovardhan, Azad, if I can come to you. I mean, we just heard the Canada Connect. Even you mentioned about the money that has been coming in with the network and the nexus that's also in Canada, apart from just India for that matter. My question to you is there a precedence? I mean, you spoke about they want to create fear that they are the biggest, they are the worst, and so on and so forth. But when you look at the manner in which the Bishnoi gang has functioned, the way it has expanded in Canada with the Goldy Brar Connect, is there a precedence that would say that this has happened in the past as well, this kind of a massive activity? Many are saying this is possibly a repeat of what the D-World was in the 1990s. Is that a correct correlation in terms of the magnitude, the expanse, the impact?
No, I don't think so. The B world had virtually entered every crevice, nook, and corner of Mumbai. And, Mumbai was virtually controlled by the underworld. And the Dons were absolutely held sway over the people, whether it was making of films, whether it was at the docks, harbor. I mean, you name it and you have it. Lawrence Bishnoi gang, yes, it has operated, Jim Owner here and many of the extortions. I'll tell you another thing. Some of the copycats are doing this thing in Canada in the name of Lawrence Bishnoi, and even the Vancouver commissioner said this. This is happening even in this country. Many of these frauds which are taking place are done by cons in the name of bigger gangs. So Bishnoi gang, I don't think it has the wherewithal to come to that rank as yet. And even in Canada, again, their shelf life is very limited. Goldy Brar is no longer there. He's in US. There is a brother of this
That's true.
Bishnoi, who's in Canada. I don't know last where he was traced. I'm
Anmol
forgetting just now.
Bishnoi.
Mr. Pubby might be
Anmol
knowing.
Bishnoi, that's right.
Yes. So there is a limit to these activities, and even if you look at this attack on it was a ham-handed attack on Baba Siddique, where two of these guys were just caught on the spot, and they had some pepper spray which they could not use earlier. Most of the details will come out. The only thing is more ham-handed was the Mumbai police, which could not even return with even one fire. And that is why they got away with it. So I would say it was more a gap in the security setup of the Mumbai police than the success of any. But this contract killing which has taken place, and if it is Goldy Brar, I don't think they have much scope, except, of course, getting their name more enhanced in the circles in the political firmament and the underworld. But otherwise, no.
Okay. Vipin Pubby, if I can get you in. It's interesting that Mr. Azad said it's actually the failure of the security system, the failure of the Mumbai police that has caused this kind of a terrible tragedy, and not really the opulence, the strength, the might of the Bishnoi gang. How would you see parallels of that in today's time? And I'm trying to understand as well, because every viewer seems to have this question, particularly for our generation that may not have seen the D world function. If you have to explain to our viewers just how intrinsic everything is for a gang to function like this. Is it, Mr. Azad says there is no parallel to what the D World Connect was. And he says, look, three people came, had a chili spray or a pepper spray. They tried to put that on the security guard, the police, whatsoever. They fire and they move out. Is it as easy as that? I mean, how could a particular person with three police personnel or three security guards get away with something as frivolous, if I can use that word, because that's what some people are really referring to? Vipin Pubby?
Yes, Sneha, as Mr. Azad clearly pointed out, that you can't compare the two gangs. Dawood and other, the company was much more entrenched. These are newcomers. But the point is, Bombay or Maharashtra has been free from gangsterism for quite a few years. And I think Bishnoi gang and others, they are getting into a vacuum. They are trying to find a place for themselves, and therefore they're trying to either Salman Khan or these other biggies, basically to create that fear there and to fill up that vacuum. And I would also tend to agree with the ambassador, Prabhu Dayal, when he said that, Canadians have been almost nurturing these kind of people, partly as today all these developments have taken place about we expelling their diplomats and our diplomats coming back. But Canadian government has been giving asylum to all kind of people. And I personally know so many people who have sought asylum there just to get settled there. Nothing was happening to them here in Punjab or in India. But that is the plea they took, and then they went there. And now it's a kind of a nexus that has built up because Trudeau has support of this party of certain Sikh groups from India. If he doesn't have that support, he will lose his government. So the stakes for him are very high. He has to depend on this crucial number of Sikhs because their vote is a bank. They announce in Gurdwara that somebody so and so has to be voted in, and that's what they do. And that is what is perhaps prompting Trudeau, who is seeking election next year, that he needs to build up his support base. And that could be the one reason why all these incidents are taking place and diplomatic war has broken up between India and Canada.
Prabhu Dayal, would you just take it on from where Vipin Pubby just leaves it at this point? I mean, if you're talking, like you said, Punjab is not an extremist state. It's just a group of people who possibly support, back, demand actions such as these. However, then you have the influence that they wield in Canada and the kind of a nexus that they create that becomes extremely difficult for a political establishment there, such as Trudeau's, to overlook. How crucial are the political dimensions of this huge crime that's unfolding?
You know, the political dimensions are extremely crucial because they all connect to vote bank politics. Justin Trudeau needs the support of whomsoever he can get on his side, even if they are extremist Sikhs. You know, when the last elections took place, his party, the Liberal Party, did not get a majority. So he courted favor from Jagmeet Singh Dhaliwal, who is a supporter of extremist Sikh groups. And Jagmeet Singh Dhaliwal had formed his own political party called the New Democratic Party. And with their support, Justin Trudeau was able to form a government. So as a result, he has been dancing to the tune which Jagmeet Singh Dhaliwal has played. Now, Jagmeet Singh Dhaliwal has in fact withdrawn support. But this has increased the pressure on Justin Trudeau. And by being in the wings and not being visible at all on center stage, Jagmeet Singh Dhaliwal is able to extract even more from Justin Trudeau than he was able to do earlier. In other words, what I'm trying to say is that Justin Trudeau has no majority. His government will fall. And therefore, he will do whatever he can at the bidding of whomsoever so that his government can stay in place. This is really unfortunate. This is vote bank politics. And that is why, let me mention, he has been courting favor with the extremist Khalistanis. They have been financing him. They have been trying to prop up his government because their agenda is being furthered through him.
Right. Yashovardhan, Azad, very quickly, and I asked the D world equivalent, but in today's time, if we have viewers, and often they ask this question, the Bollywood connect, the business world connect. I mean, even if you are saying it's not as extensive as the D world, is there a connect as such in today's India, specifically with celebrities from both the worlds, as it was, say, during the 1990s? A lot of stories that we have heard of, even from veteran journalists for that matter. But is there any parallel whatsoever to compare when you talk about Bishnoi gang or, you know, say the Brar gang, which you for yourself say are nowhere close to a parallel near the D world?
Well, let me say this, that celebrities are vulnerable. Whether it's the Bollywood, whether it's the cricket stars, whether it's, you know, anyone, a very rich club of elite, which is there in Mumbai, fashion, you know, the works. And anything which seems to threaten their existence or threaten their activities, their functions, their earnings, etc. There is a new class which has already come up. And this new class are these lumpen politicians who are roaming on the streets of Mumbai, who have come up who have a lot of assets, who have a lot of money on the basis of few of these gangs who masquerade in the name of supporters. And all these celebrities pay obeisance to them. so that, their theaters are not attacked, their shows are not attacked, there is no social media campaign against them. So yes, if there is a gang like Rahul Bishnoi gang which enters the gates of Mumbai, it's going to create hell. But that's exactly what I'm saying, that every gang has a shelf life, and beyond a certain stage, it peters out because there are rivals. And after all, what are intelligence agencies and crime branches for? They use one against the other, and very soon one goes into wane and the other comes up. So these are all the games which are played in the world of crime and sleaze. And very soon you'll say Lawrence gang also giving way to another one.
It's interesting that you're saying giving way to another one and not just the end of Lawrence gang. And in that itself, possibly there's another discussion. But Yashovardhan, Azad, Prabhu Dayal, as well as Vipin Pubby, thank you very much for your time. And it is a complex issue, but nonetheless, thank you very much for shedding light on this very complex issue.